Industrial processes need bearings, and bearings need lubrication. Bearing failure can be very costly, and 60% of bearing failures are due to the use of wrongly specified or poor quality bearing greases. The range of bearing greases is as wide as the variety of applications: high loading, high temperatures, food safe, low temperatures. Demanding applications and aggressive environments of every type require specialty greases using the latest lubrication technology. 80% of industrial applications fall into these 6 categories. That's why ROCOL has launched the technologically superior Sapphire 2 range of greases, each one individually formulated specifically for an extreme application but with broad performance criteria. Sapphire 2, a long-life general-purpose grease designed for the effective lubrication and protection of all types of ball, roller and plain bearings. Sapphire High Temp for high-temperature situations. Sapphire Low Temp for low temperatures. Sapphire High Load for high loadings. Sapphire Aqua for extreme water resistance. And Food Lube Grease 2 where a non-toxic grease is required. 6 greases designed to suit 80% of all industrial applications. Each product has been formulated using the latest technology to reduce grease consumption, give greater protection against corrosion and wear, reduce downtime and increase production efficiency. Let's put the Sapphire 2 range to the test and see how they perform in the lab and out in the field under actual day-to-day conditions. One of the world's largest shipping companies, Stena Lines, use Sapphire Aqua on sea-washed installations. Their hydraulic passenger walkway at Harwich is the largest scissor lift application in the UK and has to face the worst that the elements can deliver, including spring tides when the deck becomes totally submersed. Since its introduction, Sapphire Aqua has been used to lubricate all bearing surfaces on the walkway, and due to its unique formulation, continues to stay in place and protect this vital piece of equipment even after being totally flooded by spring tides. Sapphire Aqua's unique blend of water resistance, corrosion protection and wide temperature range makes it the ideal grease for use in water treatment works where plant and equipment is subject to constant washing by foul water and is exposed to all weather conditions. A simple lab test demonstrates just how well Sapphire Aqua performs against the leading competitor. 1 week ago, these 2 samples of grease were placed on test. Take a look at the results after 1 hour of constant deluge, and these are the results after 1 day. Sapphire Aqua remains intact throughout the test, whilst the competitor washes away, and after a week, there's hardly a trace of the competitor left. This resistance to water means that Sapphire Aqua won't wash out of the bearing, ensuring that equipment remains properly lubricated, which makes it the ideal grease for people like Van der Bergs, who use it in their condiment factory on food packing lines, which are subject to frequent washdowns. Now let's take a look at Sapphire High Load. Developed for use in the most arduous conditions, it's ideal for pins and bearings in mechanical plant subject to high shock loads. So, as you'd expect, Sapphire High Load finds many applications in the mining and quarrying industries. Here, at one of the largest quarries in Europe, Sapphire High Load is used to lubricate all the mobile and static plant, ensuring downtime and lost production is kept to a minimum. The inclusion of molybdenum disulfide in the formulation means that Sapphire High Load withstands high loads and shock loading. Sapphire High Load also finds applications where equipment is pre-lubricated for life. That's why Stuart Warner finds Sapphire High Load ideal for their tachograph drive units. In the lab, the 4-ball test shows how Sapphire High Load performs against the leading competitor. 3 steel balls are locked together into the jig with a sample of grease, and a 4th ball is placed in the chuck. Weights applied via a lever press the 3 balls against the 4th and allow the loading between the balls to be varied. The chuck spins at 1,500 RPM, and at the critical level of loading, friction welds the spinning ball to the other 3. noise and heat from the test piece indicate that the critical loading level is approaching. For the leading competitor, the critical loading is 179 kilos. At the same loading, Sapphire High Load's advanced formulation means the test balls suffer no damage. These are the results of the test. The Sapphire High Load balls are still clean and virtually unmarked, whereas at the same level of loading, the competitor's balls have welded solid. In fact, Sapphire High Load protects the balls from seizure at 800 kilos, the maximum test weight the equipment can handle. Now let's move on to look at Sapphire Low Temp. Its revolutionary structure, excellent corrosion resistance and load carrying capacity give users the same advantages as Sapphire High Load, plus the important benefit of excellent low temperature performance. Sapphire Low Temp is used by this large Midlands-based frozen food manufacturer to lubricate the bearings of forklift trucks moving in and out of the cold stores. Temperature variations cause condensation within the bearings, leading to rust and bearing failure. But that's no problem thanks to Sapphire Low Temp's corrosion-resisting properties. In the lab, 2 samples of grease are placed in a cryogenic bath, which reduces their temperature to minus 40 degrees C. This is the leading competitor. And this is the test. The results are clear to see. The competitor's grease shatters. Now the same test with Sapphire Low Temp. Notice how Sapphire Low Temp maintains its integrity. This ability to remain soft at the lowest temperatures ensures that bearings are lubricated even in the harshest conditions. Now let's look at Sapphire High Temp. High temperatures cause grease to carbonize in the bearings, leading to frequent failures and excessive loss production. That's exactly what happens in automotive annealing plants, such as Bodycote's Midlands operation. The use of Sapphire High Temp on the door and conveyor bearings prevents failures and ensures production rates are maintained. In the lab, a sample of Sapphire High Temp is placed alongside a leading competitor and heated to 200 degrees C. Within seconds, the competitor's grease has begun to smoke, whilst Sapphire High Temp remains unchanged. The end results speak for themselves. Seam welding machines are used extensively in the packaging industry, and the high temperatures adjacent to the welding point cause ordinary lubricants to melt, stopping production. Such problems are now a thing of the past since the introduction of Sapphire High Temp, with its advanced formulation giving it exceptional stability even at the highest temperatures. Many industries require a food-safe, non-toxic grease, and the Sapphire 2 range includes Food Lube Grease 2, an excellent general-purpose grease. Food Lube grease is USDA H1 approved and uses only FDA-listed ingredients. It's mineral hydrocarbon free, so it's completely safe to use with foodstuffs and in food environments. Here, Food Lube grease is used to lubricate the bearings supporting the cutting blade on this confectionery manufacturing machine. Food Lube's unique formulation means it can be safely used in areas where incidental contact with the food can occur. In addition to its specific food-safe properties, Food Lube is highly resistant to water, so it won't wash out, and lubrication intervals will be longer. It's exceptionally resistant to corrosion and has a good load carrying capacity, so bearing life is extended. In the lab, the M-Core corrosion test demonstrates how Food Lube Grease 2 compares with the best competitor. Once the 2 bearings have been filled with the test greases, they are slid into position on the shaft. The shaft is then slid onto the motor drive and the bearings laid into the cups. 10 cc's of water is then added on either side of the bearings, and the bearings sealed inside the cups. After a week's continuous testing, let's compare the results. The leading competitor shows staining and corrosion, whereas the Food Lube grease bearing looks as good as it started. This resistance to corrosion is one of the reasons the Coleman's Mustard and Pickle division of Vandenberg Foods uses food lube grease throughout their Norwich plant, in areas where frequent washdowns occur and where a food-safe lubricant is needed. We've looked at Sapphire Aqua, Sapphire High Load, Sapphire Low Temp, Sapphire High Temp, and Food Lube Grease 2. The general purpose grease Sapphire 2 completes the range. Sapphire 2 is the ideal grease for all general applications across the whole range of industries. Industries like brick manufacture. One of the largest brick manufacturers in the UK, Ibstock Brick, uses Sapphire 2 exclusively throughout the plant, from the clay mixers to the finished product stackers. Not only does it ensure maximum production efficiency is maintained at all times, its blue colour identifies its presence, and its tenacious nature prevents the ingress of harmful dirt into the bearing, which would form an abrasive paste, leading to rapid wear, bearing failure, and expensive loss production. To be reliable and long-lasting, the lubricant in a grease must have a constant bleed rate. In the lab, the effective life of a grease can be determined using the ROF test rig. Identical bearings are mounted in heated housings and spun at 10,000 RPM for extended periods. The load on the bearing can be varied by adding weights to the motor drives. We're going to compare Sapphire 2 with its leading competitor under a constant load test. The two bearings are fixed in place and spun at 10,000 RPM in housings heated to 100 degrees C. These are the results after 1 day. The bearing with the Sapphire 2 lubrication shows no sign of wear, but the bearing with the competitor's grease failed after 5 hours and shows signs of carbonization. Sapphire 2's unique formulation gives superior performance across a wide range of applications. The main drive bearing of this bakery oven is subject to temperatures up to 100 degrees C and is constantly under a high load. Sapphire 2 has been used since its installation, and due to Sapphire 2's stability across a wide temperature range and its exceptional load-carrying properties, no breakdowns have occurred. So this is the Sapphire 2 product range. A choice of 6 unique formulations based on the advanced grease technology which first appeared in ROCOL Sapphire. They all provide extended lubrication, long-term protection, and reliable service, whilst outperforming conventionally formulated products. In laboratory comparisons and in industry, the ROCOL Sapphire 2 range of greases outperforms all competition, and their distinctive packaging makes them easily identifiable. So, now you've seen what the ROCOL Sapphire 2 range has to offer. Their exceptional performance means higher productivity and longer lubrication intervals. This means less lubricant, fewer replacement bearings, and downtime will be reduced. And as you'd expect from a BS ISO 9002 registered company, ROCOL's products are reliable. So it's possible to accurately predict bearing life and implement an effective preventative maintenance schedule that can save the cost of a new bearing many thousands of times over. The ROCOL Sapphire 2 range of greases, based upon ROCOL state-of-the-art expertise and advanced lubrication technology. 6 greases which give rise to savings in over 80% of industrial applications. For effective lubrication, look no further than the Sapphire 2 range from ROCOL, creating lubricants with industry.